The alien queen and her forces begged for help, fearing that no one will answer. Until help convay Queen Zithara pressed her hand against the cold metal wall of her command center. The once proud flagship of the Kethmaran Empire now shook like a dying animal. Sparks flew from broken control panels. The lights flickered on and off, casting strange shadows across the room. She looked out through the cracked viewing window. Where once stood a mighty fleet of 10,000 warships, only scattered pieces remained. Twisted metal floated in the darkness of space. Some ships were cut in half. Others had holes burned right through them. A few lucky vessels drifted without power, their crews probably dead or dying inside. The Queen's blue skin had lost its healthy glow. Her crystalline armor, which had once shone like diamonds, was now cracked and dull. The bioluminescent crown on her head flickered weakly, like a candle in the wind. She was tired, so very tired, Your Majesty, said Commander Vex, her most trusted officer. His voice was quiet and filled with sadness. We have lost contact with the outer defense fleets. The Devourers have broken through the third defensive line. Zithara closed her eyes. The Devourers, even the name made her feel cold inside. They were not living creatures. They were machines. Ancient machines that ate everything in their path. They consumed metal, energy, organic matter, everything. Whatever they ate, they used to make more of themselves. How many ships do we have left? She asked. 47 that can still fight, Your Majesty. Maybe 60 more that can move but cannot shoot. Once, the Kethmaran Empire had ruled over 300 star systems. Their technology was the most advanced in the galaxy. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their shields could stop anything. Other species feared them or served them. The Kethmaran had never needed help from anyone. But the Devourers were different. They learned from every attack. When the Kethmaran used energy weapons, the machines adapted and became resistant to energy. When they used kinetic weapons, the Devourers built armor to stop them. Every victory against the machines only made them stronger. Show me the tactical display. Zithara ordered. A holographic map appeared in the center of the room. Red dots showed where the Devourers were attacking. There were so many red dots that the map looked like it was bleeding. The blue dots representing Kethmaran forces were few and scattered. They will be here in 72 hours, Commander Vex said. Our remaining defenses will not hold them for more than 6 hours. After that, Zithara stared at the map. 12 star systems had already fallen to the Devourers. Billions of her people were dead. Entire planets were now nothing but empty rocks, stripped of all life and resources. The machines moved like a plague across the galaxy, growing stronger with each world they consumed. Have we received any response to our calls for help? She asked. Vex shook his head. The Galactic Council refuses to send aid. They say the Devourers are a problem to solve. The Zorlan Federation has closed their borders to us, the Crystal Alliance will not even answer our messages. The Queen felt a bitter laugh escape her lips. For centuries, the Kethmaran had been the bullies of the galaxy. They had taken what they wanted and ignored the pleas of weaker species. Now, when they needed help, no one cared if they lived or died. What about the smaller species? She asked. The frontier worlds, most of them are too far away or too weak to help. A few have offered to take refugees, but they cannot fight the Devourers. Zithara walked to the main communication console. Her hands trembled as she activated the long-range transmitter. She had never done this before. A Kethmaran ruler asking for help was unthinkable. It went against everything their culture stood for. But her culture would be extinct in 3 days if she did nothing. Open all channels, she commanded. Emergency frequencies, diplomatic channels, even the commercial bands. I want this message to reach every corner of the galaxy. The communication officer looked surprised but obeyed. Green lights showed that. The transmitter was ready. Zythra took a deep breath. When she spoke, her voice would be heard by millions of beings across hundreds of worlds. Some would laugh at her desperation. Others would ignore her completely. But maybe, just maybe, someone would listen. This is Queen Zithara of the Kethmaran Empire. She began. Her voice was strong, but those who knew her could hear the fear underneath. I speak to all civilized beings in the galaxy. We face an enemy that threatens not just our empire, but all life itself." She paused, looking at the tactical display again. More red dots had appeared. "The machines we call the Devourers have consumed 12 of our star systems. They learn from every weapon we use against them. They grow stronger with every battle. Our greatest scientists, our most powerful weapons, our finest warriors, none can stop them." Another pause. This next part was the hardest. We, the Kethmaran Empire, formally request aid from any who can provide it. We know we have not been friends to many of you. We know we have taken much and given little. But the Devourers will not stop with us. They will continue to spread across the galaxy, consuming everything in their path. Commander Vex watched his queen with sad eyes. In all his years of service, he had never seen her look so defeated. "We estimate that we have 72 hours before our final defenses fall," Zithara continued. "After that, the Devourers will be free to spread to other systems. They did not negotiate. They did not show mercy. They only consume." She looked directly into the camera, her glowing eyes filled with desperate hope. "If anyone receives this message, if anyone has the ability to help, please respond. We will share everything we know about the Devourers. We will provide whatever resources we have left. We ask not as conquerors, but as fellow beings who do not wish to see the galaxy consumed by endless hunger." The transmission ended. Silence filled the command center. "Will anyone answer?" Vex asked quietly. Zithara stared out at the stars. Somewhere in that vast darkness, the Devourers were coming. And somewhere else, she hoped, someone was listening. "I do not know," she whispered, "but we have done all we can do." The waiting began. Captain Eleanor Rodriguez was drinking her morning coffee when the universe changed forever. She sat in the small cabin of her cargo ship, the Persistence, reading reports about grain shipments and fuel costs. Her ship was not impressive to look at. The hull had patches welded over old damage. The engines made strange noises. The life support systems needed constant repair. But Elena loved her ship. She had bought it with money saved from 10 years of working on other people's vessels. Now she carried supplies between the human frontier colonies, making enough money to keep flying and not much more. The communication alert beeped softly. Elena almost ignored it. Most messages were just new shipping contracts or weather warnings. But something made her reach over and press the button. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a blue-skinned alien woman with a crystalline crown. Elena had never seen a Kethmaran before, but she knew about them. Everyone in human space knew about the alien empire that controlled 300 star systems and treated smaller species like insects. "This is Queen Zithara of the Kethmaran Empire," the message began. Elena nearly choked on her coffee. A queen? The ruler of the most powerful empire in the galaxy was sending messages to cargo haulers like her. As the message continued, Elena's eyes grew wide. The mighty Kethmaran Empire was dying. Some kind of machine plague was eating their fleets. They were asking for help from anyone who would listen. When the message ended, Elena sat in silence for a long moment. Then she activated her long-range transmitter. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the cargo vessel Persistence," she said. "I'm forwarding an emergency transmission to Colonial Command, Priority Alpha." 3 hours later, Elena's ship arrived at New Geneva Station, the headquarters of the Terran Colonial Council. The station was not very large compared to alien megastructures, but it was home to the 27 human colonies scattered across the frontier. Elena docked her ship and hurried to the council chambers. Inside, heated arguments were already taking place. The 12 council members sat around a circular table, their voices echoing off the metal walls. "We cannot risk our people for aliens who have never shown us any kindness," shouted Councilman Peters, a red-faced man from the mining colonies. "The Kethmaran have blockaded our trade routes. They have taken our worlds. Let them solve their own problems. But if these Devourers are as dangerous as the Queen claims, they will not stop with the Kethmaran," replied Dr. Sarah Chen, the Council's chief scientist. "They will continue to spread. Eventually, they will reach human space." Elena stepped forward. "Excuse me, counselors. I am the one who intercepted the transmission." All eyes turned to her. Elena felt nervous, but tried to speak clearly. "I have been flying cargo ships for 15 years. She said, "I have seen many species in this galaxy. Some are kind, some are cruel. Some are just trying to survive, like us. But I have never heard fear like I heard in that alien queen's voice." Councilman Peters waved his hand dismissively. "Fear or not, we have only 47 ships in our entire fleet. Most are converted cargo vessels like yours, Captain. What could we possibly do against an enemy that destroyed the Kethmaran Empire?" Dr. Chen stood up. She was a small woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes. "May I remind the Council that we have faced impossible odds before? When the Zorlan pirates attacked New Shanghai Colony, everyone said we could not fight them. But we did. When the plague hit the farming worlds, everyone said we could not save them. But we did. Those were different situations," argued Councilwoman Martinez from the outer colonies. "We are talking about ancient machines that adapt to every weapon used against them. The Kethmaran have technology far beyond ours, if they cannot stop these devourers. How can we?" Elena stepped forward again. "Maybe that is exactly why we can help." The council members looked confused. "Think about it," Elena continued. "The Kethmaran have the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Their weapons are perfect. Their ships are perfect. Their tactics are perfect. But these devourers learn from perfection. They adapt to it." Dr. Chen's eyes lit up with understanding. "You are suggesting that our primitive technology might be an advantage, not primitive," Elena said. "Different, unpredictable. My ship breaks down every other week, but in different ways each time. My engines run on 3 different fuel types because I cannot afford proper parts. My weapons are a mix of human designs, Zorlan salvage, and things I built myself." She paused and looked around the table. "The devourers might not be able to adapt to something that is already broken and random." Councilman Peters laughed, but not in a mean way. "So you want to fight an unstoppable enemy with ships that barely work?" "I want to fight an unstoppable enemy with ships they cannot predict," Elena replied. Dr. Chen began pacing excitedly. It could work. If the devourers learn by analyzing patterns in their enemy's technology and tactics, then truly chaotic and unpredictable methods might confuse their learning algorithms. "It is still incredibly dangerous," said Councilwoman Martinez. "We will be sending our people to almost certain death, and if we do nothing," Dr. Chen said quietly, "the devourers will come here anyway." The Queen's transmission showed their expansion pattern. At their current rate of spread, they will reach the outer human colonies in 6 months. The council chamber fell silent. Elena could hear the hum of the station's life support systems. Finally, Council Chairman Zhang spoke. He was an old man who had helped establish the first human colonies in this region of space. "Captain Rodriguez," he said, "if we decided to send aid to the Kethmaran, would you be willing to lead such a mission?" Elena thought about her small ship with its patched hull and unreliable systems. She thought about the Queen's desperate voice in the transmission. She thought about the devourers eventually reaching human space. "Yes, sir," she said. "I would be honored to lead it, even knowing that you might not come back." Elena smiled. "Sir, I fly a cargo ship held together with spare parts and hope. Every day I might not come back, but I always try to finish the job." Chairman Zhang nodded slowly. "The council will vote. All in favor of sending aid to the Kethmaran Empire?" 7 hands rose into the air. All opposed, 5 hands rose. "The motion passes," Zhang announced. "Captain Rodriguez, you have 24 hours to gather whatever ships and volunteers you can find. God help us all." As Elena left the council chambers, she wondered what she had just volunteered for. But deep down, she knew it was the right thing to do. Someone had to answer the Queen's call for help. The human convoy dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kethmaran system, and Captain Eleanor Rodriguez felt her heart sink. The space around them was filled with the wreckage of what had once been the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Massive ship hulls drifted like dead whales in the cosmic ocean. Some were cut cleanly in half. Others had been torn apart from the inside. Holy stars, whispered Lieutenant Mike Torres from the navigation station of the Persistence. I've never seen destruction like this. Elena looked at her small fleet through the viewing window. 19 ships had volunteered to join her mission. Most were cargo vessels like her own, hastily fitted with whatever weapons the colonies could spare. The Phoenix was a mining ship with industrial lasers. The Lucky Strike was a passenger liner, with missile pods welded to its hull. The Stubborn Mule was an old military patrol boat that had been retired 15 years ago. None of them looked like they could fight the force that had destroyed thousands of advanced Kethmern warships. Captain, call communications. Officer, Lisa Park, we're receiving a transmission from the Kethmern flagship. Put it on screen. The holographic display showed Queen Zithara standing in what remained of her command center. Elena could see that the alien queen looked even worse than she had in the distress call. Her blue skin was pale. Her crystalline crown was cracked. Dark circles surrounded her glowing eyes. But when Zithara saw the human ships, her expression changed to one of disbelief. These are your reinforcements? The queen asked. Her voice carried both hope and despair. Captain, I appreciate that you came, but these ships, they look like they might fall apart before the battle even begins. Elena straightened her shoulders. Your Majesty, appearances can be deceiving. Request permission to come aboard your flagship. I need to see your tactical situation. An hour later, Elena stood in the Kethmern command center, surrounded by technology that made human systems look like children's toys. Holographic displays showed information in 3 dimensions. The walls themselves seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with data. But despite all this advanced technology, the tactical situation was hopeless. Show me what you're facing, Elena said. Commander Vex activated the main display. A massive wall of red dots approached the system. From the outer rim, each dot represented thousands of Devourer machines. They will arrive in 36 hours. Vex explained, our remaining defenses can delay them for perhaps 4 hours. After that, he spread his hands helplessly. Elena studied the display carefully. What happens when you shoot them? At first, our weapons destroy many machines. Queen Zithara replied, but the survivors analyze our attacks. They share this information with the entire swarm. Within minutes, they adapt and become resistant to whatever we used. What about different weapons? We have tried everything. Energy weapons, kinetic, projectiles, electromagnetic pulses, gravity bombs, quantum torpedoes. Each works once. Then never again. Elena nodded slowly. Your technology is too sophisticated, too predictable. Commander Vex looked offended. Our technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. Exactly, Elena said. These Devourers were built to fight advanced civilizations. They expect perfect weapons with consistent performance. They expect logical tactics and strategic patterns. She turned to face the Queen directly. What if we gave them something completely illogical instead? Queen Zithara's eyes narrowed. Explain. Elena activated her portable data pad, showing crude diagrams of human ships and weapons. My ship's main cannon was built from 3 different weapon systems that I bought from scrap dealers. Sometimes it fires energy bolts, sometimes it fires solid slugs, sometimes it doesn't fire at all because the targeting computer crashes. The power output varies by 30% depending on how much coffee I've spilled on the control panel. The alien officers looked at each other with expressions of confusion and horror. You're saying your weapons are deliberately unreliable? Commander Vex asked. Not deliberately. We just can't afford better ones. But that might be exactly what we need against an enemy that learns from consistency. Elena pointed to the tactical display. The Devourers adapt by finding patterns in their enemy's behavior. But what if there are no patterns? What if every attack is random, chaotic, and unpredictable? Dr. Sarah Chen's voice came through Elena's communicator. She had remained on the Persistence to analyze Kethmern data. Captain, I've been studying the Devourer attack records. Their learning algorithm becomes confused when faced with truly random variables. There's a 17-minute window after each encounter, where they're vulnerable while trying to process chaotic data. Queen Zithara looked skeptical. You want to fight the most dangerous enemy in the galaxy with broken weapons and random tactics. Not broken, Elena corrected, creative. Humans have been making do with limited resources for our entire history. We've learned to solve problems with whatever we have available. She gestured toward her fleet on the display. The Phoenix can use its mining lasers to heat up asteroids until they explode like bombs. The Lucky Strike has cargo bays full of industrial chemicals that could create toxic gas clouds. The Stubborn Mule's engines are so old they leak radiation. That might interfere with Devourer's sensors. Elena paused and looked around the sophisticated command center. Your people think in terms of precision and perfection. But sometimes the best solution is the messiest one. Commander Vex shook his head. This is madness. You're asking us to abandon centuries of military doctrine. I'm asking you to try something the Devourers have never seen before, Elena replied. Chaos, unpredictability, human ingenuity. Queen Zithara was quiet for a long moment. Outside the viewing window, the first scouts of the Devourer swarm appeared as tiny dots of light in the distance. What do you need from us? The Queen finally asked. Elena smiled. Everything you have left, but not the way you've been using it. We're going to take your advanced technology and use it in ways that would make your engineers cry. And if this plan fails, Elena looked at the approaching enemy. Then we'll go down fighting in the most creatively chaotic way possible. But at least we'll go down together. Queen Zithara nodded slowly. Very well, Captain Rodriguez. My ships and my people are yours to command. But I warn you, if we survive this, I will never again underestimate the power of chaos. Elena extended her hand to the alien queen. Your Majesty, you're about to learn why humans are the most stubborn species in the galaxy. As they shook hands, warning alarms began to sound throughout the ship. The final battle was about to begin. The Devourers came like a black wave across the stars. Millions of sleek machines moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls absorbing light and hope alike. Each machine was the size of a small fighter, but they moved together like a single living thing. Where they passed, they left only empty space and silence. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Persistence, watching the enemy approach through the main viewer. Her heart pounded, but her voice remained steady as she spoke into the communication system. All ships, this is Rodriguez. Remember, there are no rules today, no formations, no standard tactics, no predictable patterns. Think of the strangest, most ridiculous way to use your weapons, then do something even crazier. Queen Zithara stood beside her, looking uncomfortable in the simple human combat suit Elena had given her. Captain, are you certain this will work, Your Majesty? I'm not certain of anything except that normal tactics have already failed. Today we trust in chaos. The first wave of Devourers reached the outer defense perimeter. Elena watched as the machines began their attack, expecting the usual Kethmern response of coordinated energy weapons and tactical formations. Instead, they got something completely different. Phoenix, you're up, Elena called out. Captain. Murphy's mining ship charged forward, but not toward the enemy. Instead, the Phoenix flew straight into the asteroid field that surrounded the system. Its industrial mining lasers began heating up space rocks, not to mine them, but to turn them into bombs. What is that ship doing? Commander Vex asked in confusion. Creating the galaxy's most expensive fireworks display, Elena replied with a grin. The heated asteroids began to crack and explode, sending chunks of rock flying in all directions. Some pieces hit the Devourers, but that wasn't the point. The random explosions created a chaotic field of debris that moved in completely unpredictable patterns. The Devourer swarm slowed down, trying to analyze this new threat. Their sensors worked frantically to find patterns in the chaos, but there were none to find. Lucky Strike, your turn, Elena commanded. The converted passenger liner flew into the middle of the debris field and opened its cargo bay doors. Instead of weapons, thousands of suitcases and travel bags spilled out into space. But these weren't ordinary luggage. Elena's people had filled them with industrial chemicals from the mining colonies. The suitcases tumbled through space, mixing different chemicals when they crashed into each other. Some created bright flashes of light, others released clouds of colored gas. A few actually exploded in small puffs of flame. "This is insane," Queen Zithara whispered. But Elena noticed she was starting to smile. The Devourers tried to scan the chemical clouds, but each one was different. Their learning computers couldn't find consistent patterns. In the random mixing of different substances, Stubborn Mule showed them what old human engineering can do. The ancient patrol boat flew straight toward the enemy formation, but instead of firing its weapons, it began spinning like a broken toy. Its damaged engines leaked radiation in random bursts. Its outdated shields flickered on and off in no particular pattern. The Devourers focused their scanning beams on the spinning ship, trying to understand its behavior. But the Stubborn Mule wasn't following any logical flight pattern. It was just broken in interesting ways. "Now," Elena shouted, "all human ships, attack with everything you've got." The human fleet charged forward. But each ship did something completely different. The freighter Ironwolf fired its cargo launcher, shooting containers of metal scraps like giant shotgun shells. The research vessel Curiosity released a cloud of tiny robot probes that moved in random directions, singing folk songs on all radio frequencies. The water transport Deep Blue sprayed its entire freshwater supply into space, creating a cloud of ice crystals that scattered the Devourer's sensor beams. The agricultural ship Green Thumb released genetically modified plants that could survive in space for a few minutes, creating a brief but beautiful garden floating among the battle debris. "Your Majesty," Elena said to Queen Zithara, "now would be a good time for your ships to join the chaos." Zithara activated her communication system. "All Kethmaran vessels, forget everything you learned in military academy. Follow the human example. Be unpredictable." At first, the alien ships hesitated. Their commanders had spent decades learning precise tactics and coordinated strategies. But as they watched the human fleet's chaotic effectiveness, they began to experiment. The Kethmaran cruiser Star's Edge began firing its main guns in random directions, not at the enemy but at empty space. The energy beams ricocheted off pieces of asteroid debris, creating unpredictable light shows that confused the Devourer sensors. Another alien ship began spinning while firing, creating spiral patterns of weapons fire that changed direction. Constantly, a third vessel started flying backward while shooting forward, then suddenly reversed direction without warning. Dr. Sarah Chen's voice crackled through the communication system from her position aboard the Persistence. "Captain, it's working. The Devourer learning algorithms are overloading. They can't process this much random data." Elena watched the tactical display with growing excitement. The perfect formations of enemy machines were beginning to break apart. Some Devourers stopped moving entirely. Their computer brains crashed by too much chaos. Others began flying in circles, their navigation systems confused by the unpredictable environment. "Commander Vex," Elena called out, "launch everything you have left. But don't aim for the Devourers. Don't aim for them. Then what should we? Target, aim for empty space, asteroids. Each other's missed shots, anything except a logical target. Make it as random as possible." The Kethmaran weapons began firing in all directions. Energy beams crossed and recrossed through space. Missiles flew in spirals and loops. Gravity bombs exploded in seemingly random locations, creating pockets of distorted spacetime. The battle became a three-dimensional light show of chaos and creativity. Human ships flew through clouds of alien energy fire, not because they were trying to dodge, but because their pilots were making up flight patterns as they went along. Queen Zithara watched in amazement as a group of Devourers flew straight into an asteroid. Because their navigation computers couldn't process the random signals filling space around them. "Captain Rodriguez," she said softly, "I have never seen anything like this in 300 years of warfare." Elena grinned as she watched a Kethmaran fighter accidentally ram into a cloud of human garbage, causing both ship and debris to explode in a shower of sparks and frozen food containers. "Your Majesty, this is what happens when desperate people stop following the rules and start writing their own." The tide of battle was turning, but the Devourers were still adapting. Their learning systems were beginning to find small patterns. In the chaos, Elena realized they needed to do something even more unpredictable for the final push. All ships, she announced, prepare for the most ridiculous attack in galactic history. All ships, listen carefully, Captain Elena Rodriguez announced over the communication system. Her voice carried across the chaotic battlefield where explosions lit up the darkness of space. Like festival fireworks, we're going to do something so stupid that even we don't understand it. Queen Zithara looked at her with a mixture of terror and fascination. Captain, what could be more chaotic than what we're already doing? Elena grinned and activated her ship's cargo bay controls. We're going to give the Devourers the biggest, messiest, most confusing data dump in galactic history. Every ship, open your cargo holds. Dump everything you've got into space: tools, spare parts, food, garbage, personal belongings, everything. Lieutenant Torres stared at her in shock. Captain, that includes our life support spare parts. If we lose those, if we don't win this battle, we won't need spare parts, Elena replied. Do it. The human fleet began emptying their cargo holds into space. The merchant ship traders' dream released thousands of different trade goods, alien artifacts, human, books, musical instruments, cooking supplies, and children's toys. The research vessel Curiosity dumped its collection of rock samples from 100 different worlds. But the most spectacular contribution came from the passenger liner Lucky Strike. Captain Williams had been carrying a group of human colonists to their new home, and their cargo hold was filled with everything needed to start a new life. Wedding dresses floated next to farming equipment. Family photos drifted alongside power tools. Children's drawings mixed with scientific instruments. Your Majesty, Elena said to Queen Zithara, I need your ships to do the same thing. Empty everything into space. Zithara hesitated. Our cargo holds contain classified technology, cultural artifacts, military supplies. Perfect. The more variety, the better. Trust me. The alien queen closed her eyes for a moment, then activated her communication system. All Kethmaran vessels, dump your cargo, everything. This is a direct order from your queen. Soon the space around the battle was filled with the strangest collection of objects. In galactic history, Kethmaran crystal sculptures floated next to human coffee makers. Advanced alien computers drifted alongside children's stuffed animals. Military weapons mixed with musical instruments and cooking pots. The Devourers, still trying to process the chaotic battle tactics, suddenly found themselves surrounded by millions of random objects. Their scanning systems went into overdrive, trying to catalog and analyze everything. Phase 2, Elena announced, all ships, start shooting at the floating objects, not at the Devourers, at our own junk. This makes no sense. Commander Vex protested from the Kethmaran flagship. Exactly, Elena laughed. That's the point. The combined human and alien fleet began firing their weapons at the floating debris field. Energy beams hit crystal sculptures and turned them into sparkling clouds. Missiles struck cooking pots and created showers of metal fragments. Gravity bombs exploded near children's toys, sending teddy bears spinning through space at impossible speeds. Dr. Sarah Chen's excited voice came through the communication system. Captain, the Devourer processing systems are completely overloaded. They're trying to find tactical value in teddy bears and coffee makers. Elena watched the tactical display. As the enemy formation began to fall apart completely, Devourers flew into floating furniture, mistaking dining room tables for weapons platforms. Others tried to scan children's drawings, searching for hidden military codes and crayon artwork. Now for the final phase, Elena said. She activated the ship-wide communication system so everyone could hear. All ships, human and Kethmaran, alike, I want you to do the most human thing possible. Use your imagination. Fight like there are no rules, because today, there aren't any. What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the most beautifully chaotic battle ever fought. The mining ship Phoenix began using its industrial equipment to juggle asteroids, keeping 12 space rocks spinning in the air while shooting at them with precision timing. The agricultural vessel Green Thumb started growing plants in the vacuum of space, creating impossible gardens that bloomed for seconds before freezing. Captain Williams of the Lucky Strike began playing classical music over all communication frequencies while flying his ship in patterns that matched the rhythm. Other human vessels joined in, creating a symphony of movement and weapons fire that followed no military doctrine, but created its own strange beauty. The Kethmaran forces, inspired by human creativity, began adding their own touches. The cruiser Star's Edge started painting patterns in space with its energy weapons, creating temporary artwork that lasted only moments before fading. Another alien ship began flying in complex mathematical spirals that had no tactical purpose, but were absolutely beautiful to watch. Queen Zithar herself took control of a fighter craft and began performing impossible aerial maneuvers, dancing through space like a crystalline butterfly while firing at random objects with artistic precision. The Devourer's central processing units, designed to find patterns and learn from enemy behavior, finally gave up. Their learning algorithms crashed completely when faced with an enemy that fought for beauty, creativity, and pure joy rather than tactical advantage. One by one, the ancient machines stopped moving. Their lights went dark. Their learning systems, overloaded by too much chaos and unable to process art as a weapon, simply shut down as the last Devourer went silent, floating dead in space among the debris of toys and sculptures and random junk. A strange quiet fell over the battlefield. Eleanor broke the silence. All ships, cease fire, check for survivors and damage reports. The reports came back quickly. Amazingly, they had lost only 3 ships in the entire battle. The human tactics had been so unpredictable that even the Devourers hadn't known where to shoot. Queen Zithar's voice came over the communication system, but it was different now. The pride and coldness were gone, replaced by something Elena had never heard from a Kethmaran before: genuine warmth. Captain Rodriguez, I owe you and your people a debt that can never be repaid. You have saved not just my empire, but the entire galaxy. Elena smiled. Your Majesty, we didn't save your empire. We became part of something bigger. 6 months later, Elena stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching construction crews working on the first joint human Kethmaran research facility. Human engineers worked alongside alien scientists, sharing ideas and learning from each other. Queen Zithar approached, no longer wearing her heavy royal robes but dressed in simple work clothes. She had spent the last month learning how to repair cargo ships with human mechanics. Any regrets? Elena asked. Zithar looked out at the stars, where human and Kethmaran ships flew together on patrol missions, protecting the galaxy from any threat that might emerge. Only one, the former queen replied. I regret that it took a crisis for us to learn what we should have known all along. What's that? Zithar smiled, an expression that looked natural on her blue features now, that the best solutions come from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the greatest strength is asking for help. Elena nodded and raised her coffee cup in a small salute. To chaos, creativity, and the courage to try something new. To friendship, Zithar added, raising her own cup of the human beverage she had learned to love. Together, they watched the stars, knowing that the galaxy was a little bit safer, because the species had learned to trust each other when it mattered most.